Hello, my name is Anna Ganales and today I'm going to talk about my new shawl pattern, Carnival. Carnival, I've knitted two versions of it. This one on the left is knitted in botany lace in a very variegated, very brightly coloured yarn, very busy. And I designed this shawl mainly to work with this type of yarn that has a lot of different colours in it and a lot of variation. And then I knitted it up in Zababall, which is one of my favourite yarns to use for shawls, which has a lot of long graduating stripes and big blocks of colour. So it works really well for both types of yarn. You can also use a solid colour or a semi-solid colour. One of the features of Carnival is the shape, and it starts at the top up here with just a few stitches, and then it increases along the spine, and then later on it adds an extra increase, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But this increase here along the spine is what I really want to show you today. It's a double yarn over, and I really like the look of it. I've used it in another pattern as well, Vanity Fair, which I'll link in the description below. But I'm now going to show you how to do that type of shaping. So let me just move that shawl away. So before we start, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the shaping of Carnival. And if this doesn't make sense, don't worry. Once you start knitting it, just do what the pattern says and it'll all work out. I just want to give you like a very quick overview of how the shape works. So I'm trying to lay it out so it'll all fit in the photo. So it starts here with 8 stitches. And if you knitted a sort of very popular triangular shawl with a center spine that starts at the top with just a few stitches, this follows that same formula to start with. So you start with 8 stitches, you increase at the beginning of the row, 2 in the middle and 1 at the end of every right side row. Most triangular shawls will have a spine in the middle, 1 stitch with an increase either side of it. This one, I've basically taken out that spine, so I've taken out that stitch in the middle. So it's just got 2 yarn overs next to each other, and I really like how that looks. Okay, so it starts here, just a few stitches as I said, increase beginning, 2 in the middle, at the end, every right side row. Once you get to about here, then you're going to add another increase. So I'll put a link to the pattern page and to the blog post which accompanies this video, and you can see the full shape of the shawl because I've included a blocking photo. But the shape of the neckline is basically like that. So it's flat, the fit behind your neck, and then it goes like that, so you can wrap it around you. So once you get to here, you then start increasing on both sides. You basically add another spine, which would sort of come across your shoulders if you were wearing it, like that. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this over so you can see a bit better. So it starts here. Once you've worked to there, you then add another spine increase on both sides of the shawl, beginning and end of the row you're working on, to add this extra panel at the front, and it just makes it really easy to wrap around you. So you can wear it across your shoulders or you can wear it as a scarf. And it's just absolutely, it's a shape I absolutely love, and I'll be doing more of in the future. Okay, so I'm now going to show you how to do that double yarn over. So let me just put this shawl away quickly and get my knitting out. Okay. So I've cast on 8 stitches and I've knitted 1 row. Now the pattern says knit 2, which is the first 2 stitches obviously, that's the edging, yarn over, which is the increase I talked about at the beginning of the row, knit 2, and then I'm going to do yarn over twice. Now I knit in a continental way, so I'm just going to do that. So I'll just wrap the yarn around twice. If you knit the English way, it's the same thing. You just go yarn around once, yarn around twice, and then carry on knitting. Then you knit 2, yarn over, that's the increase at the end of the row, and knit 2 for the edging. Now I'm going to just turn and do the wrong side rows. So on the wrong side row, knit the first 2 so you get a garter stitch edging. Now all the wrong side rows are worked like this, and then you're going to purl till you get to that double, you're going to purl till you get to that double stitch. So that's my double stitch. You can see the yarn's wrapped twice around my yarn over. sorry, the yarn is wrapped twice around my needle. So the first yarn over, I'm going to purl. Now you can't, if you've got a double or a multiple yarn over, so say you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 yarn overs next to each other, you can't just purl them all or knit them all as normal. Every other one at least you have to do through the back loop. So you have to either knit or purl every other one through the back loop. You can do them all through the back loop as well. So I'm going to do this one through the back loop, and then I'm going to purl till I get to the last 2 stitches. Okay, and then I'm going to knit the next row, knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's that double yarn over from the row below. So the first one of those stitches, that yarn over, let me just put that back. The yarn over, those next 2 stitches are the stitches created by that yarn over on the previous right side row. So I'm going to knit the first one, and then I'm going to do a double yarn over, and then I'm going to knit the second one through the back loop. Can you see the second one was the one that we purled as normal on the previous row? And can you see it gives you a bit of a hole there? That stitch is sort of quite open. If I just undo the last one I knitted and show you that. So the second, when we purled on the previous row, we purled the first one, we purled the second one through the back loop. And can you see how that's a much smaller stitches? That one's open, that one's closed. So we want both of them to look like that. So I'm going to knit the first one, double yarn over, and then I'm going to knit that one through the back loop, just to make it look neater. And I'll close it up. And then I'm going to knit to the last 2 stitches, yarn over, knit 2. So I'm going to turn. So to start with, that's all you do. Oops, hang on. I'm so used to slipping the first stitch of every row. I kind of do it automatically. But in this pattern, I've written down to knit the first stitch of every row. But if you prefer to slip the first stitch of every row, you can do. I would do if I was knitting this. So I come to that double yarn over in the middle. So I'm just going to move that other way so you can see. So I'm going to purl the first one. Okay. And then I'm going to purl the second one through the back loop. And then I'm going to purl to the last 2 stitches. Oops. And I've just dropped the stitch. It's very difficult when I film because I basically sit with the arms around a tabletop tripod, so I can't see what I'm doing, except all I can see is looking through the screen, so it's a little bit difficult. Right, so I'm going to knit 2 stitches, yarn over, knit 1, knit to the middle 2 stitches. So that's the middle 2 stitches. So I'm going to knit the first one, so that's the center of my row, and that's where I'm going to do my 2 yarn overs. Now to help you do that, you can use a marker. Let me just find my marker. So just any kind of ring marker. Mine's got a pretty bead on it. Yarn over, then I put the marker between the 2 yarn overs. Yarn over, and then that one I'm going to knit through the back loop just to close it up. I do have a whole tutorial on why I knit yarn overs through the back loop on the next right side row. So if you go to my website and click on tutorials and scroll down, it's under Monday mini tips. I will put a link to it below this video as well. So I'm now, oops, I slipped that stitch. Right, so I'm now gonna purl to the center. So now I put a yarn over, excuse me. Now I put a marker in place. So I'm purling to 1 stitch before the marker, and that's where the double yarn over starts. So I got 1 stitch yarn over, and then I got the marker, and then I got another one. So I purl the first one, I slip the marker across, and I pull the second one through the back loop. Now the only worry about using markers is that they sometimes slip under the stitch. If it's a yarn over next to a marker or a very loose stitch, the marker can sometimes slip under that stitch or yarn over and end up in the wrong place. So if you're relying on the marker to tell you where to shape, where to do an increase or decrease or whatever, then you may end up doing it in the wrong place. So just be aware of that. So knit to the marker, yarn over, move the marker across, yarn over again, knit that's the stitch from the previous yarn over, from the previous double yarn over, knit that through the back loop, knit to the last 2 stitches. I'm just going to knit, do one more row, or a couple more rows rather. So let's knit 2, and then I'm going to purl to the center, so now if that yarn over, that marker had moved, so let's pretend that marker had moved, so when I get to the center stitch, the marker is actually in front of those 2 yarn overs, although it should be in the middle. So I can either just move back, or I can take it off and then move it afterwards. So I'm going to purl 1, that's the stitch on the next row that we're going to knit through the back loop, put my marker on again, and then I'm going to purl the second one through the back loop. So don't worry if your marker moves. It's still useful to have a marker because it'll just make you stop and look, but do be aware of the fact that it can move. So just look at what you're doing and don't just solely rely on the marker. If you find the marker a nuisance and you can see clearly where you got the shape, then where you got to do double yarn overs, then that's fine, don't use the marker, it's entirely optional. So I've knit 2 yarn over, I'm going to knit to the center. Okay, so I'm nearly there. Okay, so that's my double yarn over from the previous right side row. But look, my marker has moved, so I'm going to just knit that first, or that double yarn over, and then my marker is slipped under that loose stitch and it's at the wrong place. So if I knit to the 1 stitch before the marker, I end up doing my double yarn over 1 stitch over. So do just watch out for things like that. So I'm going to just slip the marker back under that stitch, yarn over, slip the marker, yarn over, knit that one through the back loop, and then I'm going to knit to the last 2 stitches. So just be aware of things like that. Just watch when you're using markers, especially if you've got loose stitches or yarn overs next to a marker. Just watch that it doesn't slip into the wrong place. So I'm just going to do one more wrong side row, and then I'm going to show you how the shape is developing. So double yarn over there, and now the marker is in the right place. So I'm going to purl the first one as normal, slip the marker across, and purl the second one through the back loop. On the edging of Carnival, there's this big loopy edging. It's actually made up of 6 yarn overs. When you do this one, same as we did with the double yarn overs, you have to work every other yarn over through the back loop. This one on the wrong side row, after doing the 6 yarn overs, you're going to knit. So the 6 yarn overs, you'll do knit 1 through the back loop, knit 1 through the back loop, knit 1 through the back loop. And that's the standard for double yarn overs or multiple yarn overs. You can't do them all knit or pull them as normal. At least every other one has to be through the back loop. Now if you find that you're running out of yarn, I had plenty of yarn left. I had about 10 grams left, but my sample knitter who knitted this sample only had a tiny bit of yarn left, and I noticed that her edging looks a bit looser than mine. So if you find that you're running out of yarn, instead of doing the 6 yarn overs on the edging, do 4. I don't think it'll look that much difference. You can still pull them to stretch them when you block them, and you should then have plenty of yarn. So just do 4 instead of 6. There is a note about that in the pattern as well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. To see more tutorials, have a look at my website www.yarnaddict.co.uk, and I'll pop all the links mentioned in this video in the description below, and also a link to the pattern. This is Carnival. If you make sure you sign up to my newsletter, and I'll put a link, there's a link below this video. If you make sure you sign up to my newsletter, you'll get 30% off each pattern. Every time I publish a new pattern, you'll get 30% off. That code will be sent out through the newsletter. Okay, thank you for watching.